Now we're going to dive into how we go about developing appropriate behaviors needed for our children to be successful in life. We are going to do this through a three-step process. First, train for compliance. Second, teach how to behave. Third, manage choice. Teaching compliance is not about control. It is about freedom. Sufficient training allows all of us to live a life free to make complex choices. Imagine for a moment a day without any habits or routines, where you have to think about every little thing you do all day long. This would be so overwhelming and take up so much effort just to perform basic functions that we would never be able to perform higher level evaluative tasks such as self-discipline. Let's go back to the driving metaphor again and recall the last time you drove somewhere you often visit. Have you ever gotten to your destination and thought, I don't even remember how I got here? Well, don't worry. This is not due to you being an unaware driver, but it is because you were so well trained in all the routine cognitive tasks of driving, you did not store them in long-term memory. This allows important brain function to be freed up and accomplish the complex task of evaluating real-time information and make safe, responsible decisions. The training part is focused on quick, short instructions that are easily accomplished. Buckle your seatbelt. Put on your directional. Stop at the sign. Raise your hand. Push in your chair. While training, the teacher is right there with the students, providing constant, immediate feedback and modeling when necessary. We do not practice until they get it right. We practice until they cannot get it wrong. Teaching students how to behave focuses on skills, attitudes, and knowledge needed for cooperation, proper behavior, and increased responsibility. When students fail to comply with expectations, teachers insist that they redo the behaviors in an appropriate manner and continue to practice it often. Okay, let's revisit our metaphor for a moment and take a closer look at insisting on do-over as a strategy. Let us imagine that you are driving to a professional development conference that is 3 hours away. You always like to arrive a little early and push the speed limit just a little bit. At about 2 hours into the trip, you realize you're doing really great and you're going to make it 30 minutes early when suddenly flashing red and blue lights appear in your mirror. You realize at this point that you're not going to make the conference early, and you start telling yourself, well, I hope the fine's not too big and we can get this over quickly, so at least I'll be on time. The officer walks up to your door and informs you that you were indeed speeding. However, he then enlightens you that you're going to have to drive all the way back home to do the trip over again the right way. An assistant will be provided and ride in the front seat with you to make sure he gives you immediate feedback on corrected driving. As a final precaution, a governor will be put on your car to keep your speed limit below 60 miles an hour during this trip. There is no if-then here. Failure is truly not an option. If this is the way things were done, would there be much speeding? I don't think so. Currently, police are limited to assigning punitive consequences only. So what happens in this type of system? All too many people have early detectors to avoid supervision and behave appropriately only when being directly supervised, simply to resume their bad habits when that supervision is gone. When they finally do get caught, it is either seen as worth it or a game to win. Most of the time when we punish children, we actually do not need them to be punished. We need them to behave correctly. Managing student choice is a target we are aiming for. It helps students move towards greater independence by offering more choices as they show capability for handling them. A basic requirement of choice making is that students take into account the needs and rights of others. Also, if students do not care about the outcome of a particular goal, they should not be allowed to make choices about it. We have to make sure that the students demonstrate that they are responsible enough to make these higher level choices first. Behavior we ignore is behavior we permit. Managing starts once students have consistently shown both the will and skill by demonstrating responsibility, respect, and cooperation needed to make that choice. If a student is not meeting expectations at this stage, consequences are indeed appropriate. They can be flexible and should be done in a way that follows a teaching model and also in a way that maintains student dignity. Be consistent of what behaviors you expect and insist those behaviors are displayed correctly. Bargaining, bribing, and threatening teach students to do what is advantageous. Discipline teaches students to do what is right. Compliance comes before cooperation. Cooperation comes before collaboration. Well-trained students obey rules. Well-taught students understand why we need rules and why teachers are given authority. They also know the skills and attitudes associated with responsible, respectful conduct. Well-managed students consider the impact of their decisions and do the right thing because it is the right thing to do.